beyond the sky. How can you dare to try? How can you fight through doubt and fear? How can you make your path clear? Ask how, and your power will rise.
Hello and welcome. So get this, in the Netherlands, a quarter of the entire country is actually below sea level. For centuries, they've been in this constant epic battle with the water. In today's Explainer, we're going to uncover the absolutely ingenious ways they've figured out how to not just survive, but actually thrive. All right, so let's just get right to it. The big question is, how? How do 17 million people live, work, and build a whole country in a place that honestly should be completely underwater? Okay, to really get what's at stake here, you've got to understand the geography. A huge part of the Netherlands is this massive flat delta. Think of it like a giant bathtub, right? It's at the mercy of huge rivers like the Rhine and the Meuse, and of course, the North Sea. This makes the whole area incredibly vulnerable. We're talking millions of people living with the constant threat of a major catastrophic flood. So for centuries, what was their answer? Well, they decided to fight the water head-on. It was like a war, really, using dikes, dams, and some of the most mind-blowing engineering projects the world has ever seen. And this thing right here is the perfect example of their approach, pure brute force engineering. Say hello to the Maeslant barrier. Now, it might look like a bridge, but it is not a bridge. It's a colossal storm surge barrier. I mean, look at it. It's straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? But it's totally real, and it's basically the guardian angel for Rotterdam, one of the busiest ports on the planet. So what exactly is a storm surge barrier? Well, imagine a pair of gigantic hollow steel doors. And when I say gigantic, I mean each one is as long as the Eiffel Tower is tall. It's insane. Most of the time, they just sit there, parked in dry docks. But when a big storm is rolling in, these massive arms swing out and completely seal off the waterway. And the process of actually closing it, wow. It's not like flipping a light switch. This is a super tense, carefully choreographed operation that takes hours. It all starts way before the storm surge is even supposed to hit its peak. The whole thing is like a high-stakes countdown. At T-8 hours, you get the first warning. 4 hours out, they ask all the ships to clear the area. By T-2 hours, the channel is just eerily quiet. And then, right at the critical moment, those huge hollow arms start filling with water, sinking down into the riverbed to create this solid wall against the sea. It's incredible. But how do you even decide to build something this huge and this expensive? Well, that decision is anything but simple. It all comes down to a really complex and, sometimes controversial calculation of risk. And here's the crucial part. It's not just about money, protecting buildings and businesses. The Dutch look at the social cost. They actually try to put a number on things we'd normally call priceless, like damage to nature, to historical sites, and even the impact on human life itself. So to do that, economists use this thing called the value of a statistical life. And look, it sounds a little cold, a little uncomfortable, and people definitely debate the ethics of it. But it's a practical tool they use to justify spending money to save lives. In the Netherlands, that number is around 7 million euros. And that figure helps them decide, okay, how much is it worth spending to keep people safe? And this table right here, this shows you how it all works in the real world. Let's look at Zuid-Holland. It's super populated, economically critical. Potential flood damage, a whopping 75 times billion euros. So they invest in protection that can handle a once in 13,700-year flood. Now, look over at the island of Texel. Way less potential damage, right? So the protection standard is lower. It's a super practical, data-driven way to handle safety. But here's the thing. Over time, the Dutch realized that just building higher and higher concrete walls, well, that wasn't going to work forever. Especially with climate change making things even more unpredictable. They needed a totally new way of thinking. And that led to this huge shift in philosophy, a complete 180. Instead of always fighting the water, they started to focus on living with it. This meant moving away from just hard engineering and embracing solutions that actually work with nature, not against it. This whole new approach has a name, building with nature. And the idea behind it is actually pretty simple, but it's also revolutionary. It's all about using nature's own power to protect the country. Basically, you let nature do the heavy lifting for you. So what does that actually look like? Well, one of the coolest examples is something called the sand motor. They basically create this giant pile of sand off the coast, and then they let the ocean's own currents and wind spread it out naturally to build up the shoreline. Genius, right? Other ideas include planting mangrove forests to soften the waves, building reefs to absorb energy, and creating green dikes, which are these earthen walls covered in plants that are actually stronger and way better for the environment than plain old concrete. Okay, so why should you care about all this? Because what used to be a problem just for the Netherlands is now becoming a problem for, well, pretty much everyone. Coastal cities all over the world, we're talking Miami, Jakarta, you name it, they're all facing the exact same threats now. A perfect example is New Orleans. After Hurricane Katrina just devastated the city, it was obvious their old system of levees and pumps just wasn't enough. So, who did they call? The Dutch. They started working together, adopting these same living with water ideas to build a safer future. And a councilman from New Orleans, Jason Williams, said it perfectly. He said, if you fight with water in a riptide, you are going to lose. You just can't win. You have to learn to work with it. And that's exactly the idea here. This other quote from an architect working there, David Wagoner, really nails the new mindset. He says in Amsterdam, you don't want to walk on a dry street. You want to walk on a wet street. It's about flipping the script. Stop seeing water as a threat you have to hide and get rid of, and start seeing it as something that can make your city better, more beautiful, and a whole lot stronger. So, what's the big takeaway here? After all these centuries of struggle and genius innovation, what can we all learn from the Dutch experience? It really comes down to 3 steps. Step 1, acknowledge the risk. You have to be brutally honest about the danger you're facing. Step 2, innovate. Come up with bold, crazy engineering to handle the immediate threat. But then, and this is the most important part, step 3, evolve. Shift to smarter, more sustainable solutions that work with nature for the long haul. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. The Dutch had to learn all this the hard way, over centuries, because they had no other choice. But now, with sea levels rising everywhere, is this the future for every coastal city on Earth? What do you think? Is this where we're all headed? We'd really love to know what you think, so drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hey, if you enjoyed this explainer and learned something new, do us a huge favor and hit that like button. Share it with a friend and subscribe for more deep dives. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
How can you reach beyond